Good afternoon, class. This is Kason Firth, and I will be talking to you about my capstone, which is Adidas. And just so you know, my PowerPoint is right there. So I have to set you down right here, but I will be looking at my PowerPoint talking. And so the things I'll be discussing to you today about my capstone will be the SWOT analysis, the VRIO, the Pestle for Adidas, as well as Porter's Five Forces. So, excuse me. Moving to the SWOT analysis, you have your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, as well as your threats. And for Adidas, most of them are strengths, and even some of your opportunities can be considered strengths. And so I thought that was really cool while I was doing research for them. And so some of the strengths that they have are their massive geographic footprint. And so when you look at Adidas, no matter where you look, whether it's Canada all the way to probably Australia, you have some sort of Adidas footwear somewhere, or Adidas clothing, or anything. And so I actually went to Uganda for a mission trip, and in the most poverty ridden place that we went to, you would see Adidas. And so you could see Adidas there, you could see Adidas in Brazil when Messi's playing. He probably has Adidas on. And so they have their brand everywhere. And so another strength that they have would be their improved performance of their shoes. And so, like I just told you, excuse me, like I just told you, they have shoes anywhere from Uganda to people who wear them like maybe Messi or Ronaldo or your famous football players. And so something clearly is working for them, which means that they're popular. And so that is a huge strength for them. And the last strength that we have is they have a very good focus on their research and development. And so, like I just told you, they have enough research and development to be able to hook up with some of these players to be able to get their input on their shoes and figure out what they like and what they don't like. And that has a huge impact on how they, fine tune their shoes. And you may not people may not understand how much shoes matter to people, but from a someone who used to be a baseball player, shoes matter a whole lot. Just the feeling is it needs to be very, very specific to you. And if it's not comfortable, you better get a new shoe because that affects your performance to that sport. And so from what I've seen, Adidas has done a great job at their research and development of shoes over time and over the years. But excuse me. Now that we've discussed the strengths, I'm now going to be talking about their weaknesses. And so the only weaknesses that I was able to find were that they are pretty reliant on third party suppliers, which, when you think about it, can be a good thing. But now that we have Trump in office and all these tariffs are coming around, this could be a pretty costly thing, which is another point that I have for their weakness. Um, the tariffs will put a heavy tax on imported goods, which could have a big impact on how much their shoes cost because the cost of what they're needing to get for their shoes goes up, which means the cost of the actual shoe will need to go up. And so, because of that, you may see a price difference in Adidas, and that could be an issue. Or, for instance, Adidas actually gets some of their materials from China, which means if they decide to reject all imports from China, Adidas is going to be in a very tight spot. They're going to have to figure out where they can get their materials from. And so, as long as they can control their third party suppliers, they should be okay. But as far as I know, that is the only weaknesses that I've been able to see. Um, excuse me. I'm sure there are more, but just from what I saw. And so now you move on to their opportunities. And like I was telling you before with the pro football players, and even more than just football, maybe even American football, even baseball, they are very well tied in with upcoming sports like rugby. Rugby's another one that has a lot of people who wear Adidas, as well as your sports teams and clubs. And so, like I was telling you, um, soccer or football, they have a lot of people who wear Adidas, and that's who Adidas gravitates more towards when it comes to their research and development because it's so popular. And so that is a massive opportunity that they have, and I give them hats off to it because they have not only been able to expand to just soccer, but baseball. And for instance, I wore Adidas for baseball, and I really like them. They're very lightweight, and for me, I'm fast. I need to be able to run fast, and so in order to do that, I need lighter shoes, and they were able to do that. And so I've been very impressed with their Adidas, and so that actually gave me an opportunity to invest in this company. And so some other opportunities that they are growing online retail stores, and so as you know, since COVID has been a huge factor in everybody's lives, online stores and selling and buying has been off the charts. And so even where I work now, we most of our business is online. Excuse me. And so we sell probably 90% of our goods or parts online. And so Adidas has found a lot of opportunities to grow their online retail stores because of COVID. And so, although it was a bad thing, they were able to turn it into something good. And so, they were able to expand a lot of their shoe markets from, their website that they have, which is a very good website. I've been on it. I really like it. They've been able to expand that to Amazon and some of these other third party stores that get their name out there. And so those all have been huge opportunities to advertise for them and get more profit. And so I think that's been a very good opportunity for them. And so last but not least, we have threats. Um, excuse me. So one of the biggest threat that they have is their competitors. And so you have competitors like Nike and Under Armour and a couple of your other name brand people. Those are going to be their main competitors in their sports that they have for their players. And I think that even though they do have a big grasp on the soccer market, that even Under Armour and some of these other people that do make soccer cleats, like Nike's a big one, they have some pretty huge competition. And so just because Adidas is successful doesn't mean that they need to let up. And so I think that Adidas needs to keep their foot on the pedal and continue to focus heavily on their research and production, because if you get more personable with the people that you're selling your shoes to, then you're going to have a lot better chance of selling more shoes. And so if they can do that with all of their markets, I think that they'll be in a great spot. And so another thing that has been a threat, but not as much as a threat as the competitors have been the counterfeit products. And it is kind of difficult to make an exact replica of the Adidas shoe because that logo that they have is trademarked, which is the three lines, which actually is this right here. There are three lines. Oh, there are three lines right there. That logo itself is trademarked. And so any type of three white lines like that or three lines on a shoe are normally going to be Adidas shoes. And so you'll see companies out there that are non-name companies, but they'll have, like, they may spell Adidas wrong or say like Adidas and have one letter wrong, but that is technically a threat because if you can't afford Adidas and to be fair, Adidas can be costly at some points. You just buy the off brand. And so that is a threat to Adidas, but not nearly as big a threat as the competitors are. And so overall, I think their SWOT analysis was really good. So moving on to their VRIO. And so now talking about this, their VRIO is their value, rarity, their imitation, and organization. And so let's start with how valuable they are. And so things that they value or are valuable for are their strong brand identity. And like I said, their brand is trademarked, and so it's quite strong and is well known. And so I think that that is highly valuable, and it's very good advertising because whenever people see those three marks, they automatically know, oh, that's Adidas. And that just shows how well known that is and how valuable that mark is. And like I was just saying, which is one of the points on here, it has a patent that's valuable. And that patent is those three lines and the actual Adidas logo. And it helps the brand sell its products without anyone stealing their brand name. And so, like I was telling you earlier, with those threats, some of those, not competitors, but the people who try to impersonate Adidas, they have to spell Adidas wrong. And so they may use two D's or Adidas, like I told you. And so that itself makes Adidas very popular. And then moving on to their rarity, they are very, very creative because of how well their research and development is. And compared to some of these people like Nike and Under Armour, yes, they may have good shoes, but they aren't as innovative and creative and don't have the same ideas as Adidas does. And so I think that that is priceless, in my opinion, and which that has made them so popular. And so I think that that is extremely rare and is a very, very good quality to have in a business. And so moving on to the imitation, like I had discussed earlier, and this kind of moves into it, they have a great brand reputation. I don't think I've seen many people, excuse me, I don't think I've seen many people who have a very bad opinion on Adidas. And it all depends on your actual, like how it fits your foot and all and how comfortable it is. And I understand that. But most of their brand reputation is very, very positive, which is why they've been so effective and so popular. And so now moving down to their organization, they have a very efficient supply chain, which is part of the reason why they've been so versatile and been able to go to so many places and even different continents. And so that's why one of the bigger reasons why they've been so successful is because they've been able to get their shoes out and be able to do their research and development in a good, timely manner to be able to make quick adjustments when they need to and give their shoes back out or sell their shoes back out to those people and people who want them. So like I said, I think they've done a fantastic job so far, and I think really they only have a couple minor adjustments that they need to worry about, and primarily it's your third-party suppliers. And so overall, their VRIO was quite good. A couple things they need to work on, but so now we need to talk about their pestle. And so their pestle is their political, economical, social, technological, and environmental, as well as legal. So, digging into their political side, they have a lot of global trade policies which can change or affect Adidas operations. And so, messed up my slides. There we are. And so, like I was telling you earlier about those tariffs, those can be huge and affect Adidas significantly. And so the tariffs would change the taxes on those goods or valuables that they need in order to get into America or wherever Adidas is making their shoes. And so that can be a huge impact on them. And as well as that, they have to be political with keeping everything regulation compliant, which means all the standards that they have to abide by, and um, excuse me, all the standards that they have to abide by in the regulations. They need to make sure that all of this is legal and they're not doing anything they don't need to. And so, as we move on from political, their economical side, they also do have some local economic issues, and some of that can be things that influence your sales or operations in that region. And so, depending on where they're located, they may not be able to sell as much because of the environment they're located in, such as maybe Uganda. Uganda is not necessarily a wealthy area, and so they may not be able to get those high end things or high end shoes that Adidas has over there. But, like I told you before, they have gotten some out there, and so they are currently doing a better job at working on that. But now moving on to their social side, or their social factors, they have had a lot of consumer preferences, which is why I explained to you that they have done a fantastic job of explaining or doing their research and development for their customers, because consumers have preference. I have preference. I know y'all have preference. And so to do that or to express that, companies need to, in order to stay popular, companies need to be able to adjust to what you prefer. And so I think they've done a great job of that. And they have a lot of health and wellness trends, which have to do with their environment and, staying friendly with the environment and all of the, fitness influencers and their demands with their specific sportwear. But overall, Adidas has been able to be very social and stay on social media and post things regularly. Um, but moving on to their technological side, they have their digital marketing and their e-commerce growth. And so their digital marketing, which you're going to have advertisements for Adidas almost anywhere you go, at least from where I've been, whether it's on Instagram, X, YouTube, you name it, you're going to see some type of Adidas ad. So they have dispersed their ads for, their shoes everywhere. And I think they've done a good job with that. And they also have a huge e-commerce growth. Like I was telling you before, COVID-19 made it where people don't want to go outside a lot because people didn't want to catch that virus. And because of that, the demand for online ordering went from here to here, and it skyrocketed. And so they they shipped everything for a while, and that's why on Amazon or wherever you see, you're going to have a lot of things that want to be or need to be shipped, and people want to ship because you're not going to see many people going into a store buying shoes nowadays because it's so convenient to just get it shipped to you. If you just pay a small shipping fee, we can ship it to you and be fine. And so Adidas has been able to jump on that, and I think they've done a good job of it. Excuse me. And so, moving on to their environmental side, they have a lot of people who talk about climate change, and their Adidas is actually very committed to being climate neutral, which I think is admirable and good. And so, moving on from their environmental side, their legal side with their advertising guidelines, Adidas actually must comply with certain regulations to maintain their reputation. And so, there are going to be a couple people who are a little picky about their guidelines, and because of that, Adidas has to make sure and abide by them, and that's perfectly normal, and that's okay. And if that's what it takes to maintain the reputation, more power to you. And so, last but not least, we have Porter's Five Forces, which they have their competitive rivalry, their threats of new entrants, their bargaining power supplies, their bargaining power buyers, as well as their threats of substitute products. And so their competitive rivalry is very high. Like I told you, they have Nike, Adidas, and also Ultra. I didn't name them, but they have a lot of name brand people or companies that are starting to climb up there, and so they have a lot of rivalry that they've got to deal with. Their threats of new entrants are low because, like I told you, they have a lot of rivalries already. And so the new entrants aren't really going to matter that much because those businesses are so valuable. It's not really going to make a dent in their sales and profits. And so next, they have their bargaining power of supplies, which is low because right now, currently, they're getting their supplies from China and a couple of these third world countries. And as of now, nothing has changed, but who knows with these tariffs that are coming, these tax tariffs. And so currently it is low, but it may change to be moderate, maybe high. And so the bargaining power of buyers is moderate to high because shoes can be expensive, and people, as much as they do like convenience, a lot of people, as well as myself, need to be able to have a little wiggle room with price. So they've got to be able to find a happy medium with how much their shoes cost versus not. And I think they can do a good job with that by advertising all these different sports players or actors and so forth, because that can help them have a little wiggle room. Because, if I see that Bryce Harper has on some Adidas cleats, even though he's a sponsor by Under Armour, if I see him with, Adidas cleats, I may look into it to see what kind of cleats he wears just because I'm curious. And so that may help me get interested in buying shoes because someone else has them. And so that can be pretty moderate to high. And so, and last but not least that I'm talking about here, we have the threat of substitute products, which is moderate. Like I told you before, they do have people who like to knock off their product, which could be a moderate threat for people in poverty-ridden places. If you can't afford Adidas, yeah, I'm gonna buy something that says Adidas or something with 4 lines instead of 3 because it looks cool. It may not be name brand, but it still looks cool. And so I don't think it's as much a threat as their rivalries, but in terms of their five forces, their rivalry is their biggest negative. The only thing that I could see being an issue in the future would be that power of supplies, which currently is low, and I'm hoping it stays low. But like I said, with Trump in office and these tariffs, it could affect them big time. And so I've been super excited as I've been researching Adidas, and I am going to keep working on this PowerPoint and keep figuring out more things about Adidas to hopefully present to y'all sometime soon. And I'm excited. And so thank you very much for your time, and I will see you all in probably a couple of weeks. All right, bye.